want to talk a little bit about WrestleMania 20. You had that great match with Eddie Guerrero on the show for the WWE title. And on that same show, your friend Brock Lesnar gets booed out of the building with Goldberg, where everyone sings "Na Na Na Hey" goodbye to them. What are your memories of that day? You having the great match, and then Brock kind of, having a weird swan song.
Brock and Goldberg, everybody knew they were leaving the company, and the fans are very unforgiving. If you're going to leave the company, and right before WrestleMania, which was crazy. Both Goldberg and Brock said they were exiting the company. The fans will shit on you, man. I mean, that's just the way it is. If you're loyal to them, they'll be loyal to you. But you turn your back on them, they're going to turn your back on you. And they did. And what's crazy is, I told Brock, he told me about 2 weeks before WrestleMania that he wanted to quit, that he wanted to try out for the NFL. And I told him, I said, hey, listen, you might want to wait till after WrestleMania to tell Vince. Because if you do it before WrestleMania, Vince is going to get pissed at you and he's going to have Goldberg win the match. And that's the last thing you want, is have Goldberg, that's exiting the company, win the match over you. So, Brock said, you know what, you're right. So we go home and we end up going straight to SmackDown. To the SmackDown before WrestleMania, and Brock goes to Vince and tells him before WrestleMania, like, holy shit, Brock, you just f***ed up your chances of winning at WrestleMania. And, that's exactly why Goldberg won, because Brock decided that he wanted to try out for the NFL. And that pissed Vince off a little bit more than Goldberg wanting to leave the company, because Goldberg wasn't originally from the WWE. He was WCW homegrown, and Brock was a WWE guy.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about your matches with Shawn Michaels. Obviously, there's the WrestleMania 21 match, which everyone talks about. And then you guys ended up also having an Iron Man match on Raw as well, a 30-minute Iron Man match. Where does he rate for you and your opponents? And also, why do you think it just worked so well with you guys?
Well, anybody that works with Shawn Michaels is going to have the best match of their career. He's just that good. I said this before, and I meant it. Shawn Michaels is the best entertainer in the history of the business. There's nobody else more entertaining, more exciting to watch. Nobody else. Oh, thank you. I'll take that. The only reason why I don't put myself in the equation is I was only in the WWE for approximately 9 years. Shawn Michaels was in it for about 30. He earned his keep. So, but Shawn, the thing with him is he has great chemistry with everybody. When I wrestled him at WrestleMania 21, we didn't practice before the match. We talked about the match, but we didn't get in the ring and go over the moves. Shawn didn't want to do that. He wanted to just get to know me. And I was kind of getting nervous, like I'd love to lock up with you and do a few moves with you. He said, we don't have to do that. We're professionals. We'll get through it. Don't worry. And the first time I ever tied up with Shawn, the chemistry was there. It was like, wow, this guy is so talented that he has great chemistry with everybody. There's nobody else like Shawn Michaels, and I'll keep saying it till the day I die.
And then in 2005, you were on Raw. You had the Iron Man match with Shawn Michaels. Then you get put on SmackDown because they had some injuries, and they make you the world champion. And it all leads to WrestleMania 22 with Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, and you. And you have this match, and then the match time gets cut. What are your memories of that experience? Because it's in tribute to Eddie that he's going to win, but then your match time gets cut. What are your memories of it?
Well, WrestleMania 22, I co-main evented with Rey Mysterio and Randy Orton. And it was a really cool match. And the whole setup was, was to do it in memory of Eddie Guerrero. And, that was a done deal. Vince came to me and said, I know you're champion, but would you be willing to give it up to Rey Mysterio in memory of Eddie? I said, of course I would, yes. That's a great idea, Vince. So I was all on board for it. The crazy thing is, that little son of a bitch Rey Mysterio. So you give him an inch and he little takes a mile. Okay. We had 22 minutes planned for our match. So our entrances were supposed to be really quick. Mine was 45 seconds. Randy Orton's was like 30 seconds. Ray comes down and all this crazy Dr. Voodoo and he's going up and down the scaffold and he's taking forever. And by the time he gets a ring, he wastes 9 minutes of our time. So now we only got 12 minutes left to have a WrestleMania main event match. So we had to run through it. We had to cut a bunch of stuff. Thank God the match actually came across pretty good, pretty damn good. But it shouldn't have. It should have been a disaster the way it was set up. It was the worst nightmare of my life, the worst WrestleMania nightmare of my life, besides the year I wrestled with a broken freaking neck.
So, you end up leaving WWE in 2006 because you had, stuff going on. They wouldn't give you a part-time contract, and you go to TNA. I mean, does it bother you that the TNA run, you've said you think that's a better run than your WWE run, that not as many people talk about it?
Well, when I was in WWE, I was in there for about 6.5 years. And what they say a wrestler's career, when you peak, is around 6 to 9 years in the business. That's when you start peaking. That's when you hit your when you hit your highlight and where you're in your prime. And that's how long it takes for experience, especially putting together psychology and structuring matches. And so I went through WWE, and by the time I got to TNA, that's when I got my groove on. That's when things started clicking for me, and I became better at structuring matches and putting together matches and the psychology that's involved. So I became a better wrestler in TNA than I actually was in WWE. Now, a lot of you might not have seen my stuff, unfortunately, but thank you. Love you guys. But, I do regret the fact that there are a lot of people, a lot of WWE fans that never saw my TNA work. Thank you.
It seems like Cork saw it, so that's, the Main Event Mafia, who have been getting love on this too, actually. Sting, who was in the Main Event Mafia.
We're all like 75 years old now.
And one of those 75-year-old men was Sting. Because there was rumors that you were going to work with Sting in WWE if they could have brought him in, but it never came to happen. You did get to wrestle him in TNA. What was it like getting to wrestle Sting? What was that experience like? Because he seemed to really try to do his best to make TNA as successful as possible.
Yeah, Sting was already there before I signed with TNA, and he was a big reason why I went down there. He is one of the best athletes I've ever been in the ring with. And you know what's crazy? At this particular point in time, he was in his 50s, and he was still a better athlete than I was. It was unbelievable. Okay, I might be a little bit. But, Sting was amazing. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's 6'2", 260 pounds. He can dive headfirst out of a ring. The stuff he did, the way he put together matches and what he was able to do in that ring was nothing short of incredible. I mean, Sting is one of the greatest of all time, period.
And what do you think of it? Because when Sting came to AEW, people were like, he's not going to be able to wrestle. He did a cinematic match.
I heard he wasn't planning on wrestling, but he decided he was going to do it again. But you're damn right. He never broke his neck. You're damn right. Not freaking neck. But, Sting, amazing. Just, I have so much respect for the guy.
And then when you come back in 2017 to WWE, you go in the Hall of Fame, and then you are made the GM of Raw. And Mick Foley had done the GM thing the year before, and he's kind of said similar things, that he didn't quite feel it was the same as, the comedy stuff in the past. Why was it so different, and why did it not click the way that you hoped it would?
Well, the last time I was GM of Raw was when I broke my neck back in 2004, 2005. And that was the ruthless aggression era. And before that was the attitude era. But you know, when I came back to WWE in 2017, things were different. You know, it was the PG era. And so there were a lot of things you couldn't do anymore. A lot of things you couldn't say anymore. You know, the PG era, I think it just made crazy. I mean, you know, it's not as entertaining. The storylines aren't as entertaining as they used to be, and it's because they're advertising to kids. And you know, the great thing about the company is they're making more money than they ever made before on TV deals and merchandise, because kids bring their parents. The parents have to take the kids there, and they take them to the events, and they buy the merchandise, and they watch as a family at home because the parents feel comfortable that the kids can watch the PG era. So this is actually making the company more money than it was during the Attitude Era, which is effing crazy. Because the ratings back then, they were getting some 10 ratings at some particular times. You know, that's over 10 million viewers watching Raw at this, you know, at one time. You know, now they're lucky if they get, you know, a 2 million rating. So things are different now.
But when you eventually did wrestle again, you were the dad of the Shield for a night.
It was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I love when
I look like a fanboy coming out there. I was like,
when your face pops up, it's, you know, you're just so happy.
everybody made fun of that. Everybody.
But then, right, you know, shortly after that, Ronda Rousey debuts at the Royal Rumble, and you guys are in the mixed tag with Stephanie and Triple H at WrestleMania 34. And that mixed tag is perfect. It's such a great match. It was the match of the night at WrestleMania 34.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I was injured during that match. I didn't do a real lot, but what I was most proud of was that match was set up to make Ronda look as good as she possibly could. It was the Shine Ronda Rousey, and that's what the whole match was meant to be. And that's what we did. We succeeded. There was a point in time where we were putting the match together, and I told Triple H, "You got to go with Ronda." He's like, "I'm not going with Ronda." I said, "Why the not? She would kick your ass in real life." Go with Ronda. Come on. So he ends up doing it, and it was the best stuff of the night. That match, that Ronda Rousey match with Triple H, myself, and Stephanie, that was the best match of that WrestleMania, without a doubt. I was really proud of that match, and so proud of Ronda Rousey, because she stepped up and she remembered everything she had to remember. It was awesome.
In terms of your future in wrestling, you know, I know you got the knee replacements coming up, but is there anything you'd like to still do in wrestling? Is there anywhere you'd like to go and do that?
Well, I'd love to have another match. Are you saying Mexico? Mexico? What?
AEW.
Oh, AEW. Holy your accents are crazy. Wow. I was way off.